you gonna play now?
Bobby, I don't know. But whatsoever I play, it's got to be funky. 1, 2, 3. Funky, funky.
Funky cold.
Funky stuff.
Funky. Funky.
Wicked funky. Can't get enough. I tried. Oh, that funky stuff. I say, whoa, 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 yeah.
Funky Politics Education Reform Series is presented by the National Civil Rights Museum, sponsored by Memphis Education Fund and Southwest Tennessee Community College. We'd like to thank our media partner, Chalkbeat Tennessee.
This is Terry Freeman,
Jim Strickland,
Dorsey Hobson.
I'm DeAndre Brown.
Elisa Haushalter,
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics Show.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Y'all better keep listening.
Funky Politics, part of the Katsukian Network.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Katsukian Network. Got your guy here, DC, Doc Ward. What's up, Doc?
We talking about politics, but I don't know if it's funky.
It's pungent.
I don't know if it's funky. We got some good people, but I don't know if they're funky.
Well, guess who we brought along today?
We got a good guest.
Got a guest host, first of all, Carolyn Bowman, who happens to be the community editor at Chalkbeat, Tennessee. Hello, Caroline. How are you?
Hey,
Doing
Caroline.
quite well.
I think she tries to be funky. I think she's about a 6.8 funky.
I was only going to give her a 5.3.
Well, she stays
come
at...
on, guys.
Ooh.
5.3.
That was pretty low funk.
If you 5.3, that's failure.
Oh, my God.
She's a failure to funk.
She's feeling the funk.
That's why I'm here. Got to be a better student.
There you go. Hey, look, yo, we are our very special guest in our studio. We've got Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Welcome to the program, Dr. Hall. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, we had to get the guru in. The guru on career readiness.
We'll see. Are you funky?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
I think
She's from the Lou. You got to be
from the
funky
Lou.
to be from
What does
the
that
Lou.
mean?
That you're funky
St.
from?
Louis.
The Lou may be funky, but she may not be.
Oh, no. But
Whatever.
Everybody from the Lou is funky.
Oh, hey now.
Oh, okay.
Doc, you know, Doc, we have been talking
That
about...
must be that country grammar.
From whatever. On a national perspective, we've been talking about education reform, and a lot of it is dealing with K through 12. However, one of the major focuses that a lot of these reform ideas are coming up with is to try to move our young people from the K through 12 process to a process where they are ready to go to college.
Right.
And you have one of those institutions that's been blessed in the state of Tennessee with good leadership, number one, and I think probably some infusion of a lot of extra young people with the Tennessee Promise deal that's going on.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about, number one, you got here. We're glad to have you here in this area, and a little bit about your background with relationship to the career readiness piece that we know you so graciously advocate for.
Yes, well, thank you. I have been here a year and a half already.
Oh, my Lord.
That time has really flown, yes. So it's been great. It's been great. It's been a great experience. And what I'm really happy about is that I'm able to do some things here that I've wanted to do for a number of years at my previous institution. So this is my third community college, third urban community college.
Oh, wow.
And so I spent time in Kansas City, 11 years, at Metropolitan Community College at the Penn Valley campus, which is its urban community college there. 5 campuses, I believe it's 5 campuses in Kansas City, and started as a teacher and worked my way up through administration. Actually, I started in St. Louis first after I graduated from grad school, and so I taught at St. Louis Community College, their suburban campus, for 4 years, moved to Atlanta. Then I went to Kansas City for 11 years.
Wow.
And worked there as a faculty member, taught speech, mass communication, intercultural communication, that sort of thing.
So stop right there. You taught mass communication, speech,
did.
so you can actually help Doc Ward?
Well, yeah, I think we
I don't have a speech problem, so what are you talking about?
But if you do.
You're about the most illiterate person on radio. So I don't understand why you want to try to bring that back to me.
I had to cut you. I had to do something.
It didn't
man.
work. Dr. Hall was talking about her journey here and how she's where she is now. So will you please
I'll be quiet.
Shut your illiterate self up. So
Whatever. Please, Dr. Hall, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I had to do that.
No, that's okay. Became an administrator, working, my first administrative role was working as an associate dean over career programs. And so I oversaw 13 career and technical programs, and that was my introduction to career, because community colleges, people tend to think of us as either a technical or a transfer institution, but we do both. That's in our mission to have career readiness, the career transfer programs, the career programs rather, and then the transfer. And so I was over 13 career programs there. And then I moved to St. Louis, where I was vice president for academic affairs for 4 years. And we had well over 100 programs. And at the Forest Park campus, which is the urban campus in St. Louis. And so I have a lot of experience at community colleges and have kept my finger on the pulse of what's going on nationally with community colleges as well. So it brings me here to Memphis, where I'm so pleased to be again at my third urban community college, and we've had a lot of work that we've done over the year.
Great. You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We're visiting with Dr. Tracy Hall, president of Southwest Tennessee Community College.
And you're a veteran of that system, the urban community college system.
I am. I have made a conscious decision to work only at urban community colleges.
So a few years ago, when the President Obama urged Americans to go and attain some form of post-secondary education, seeing as that the majority of us were not necessarily going to four-year colleges.
Right.
That put quite an impact or mission on community colleges to serve that purpose and fill that void of education that so many people weren't attaining. In light of what the president said, and in light of the way things are going now with the workforce and everything else, what do you see as the ongoing role of community colleges in America, or for community colleges in America?
Well, let me say what President Obama did was absolutely fabulous for us in a community college. We have always been seen as kind of the second or last chance, and that's really been our image, and I think a lot of that has been because we've allowed it to be. And so we have not really promoted ourselves. We've just gone about our day and our weeks, and we're just working. But the fact is, we have always been at the forefront of workforce development. That is what we do. We work with business and industry, and we work to see what their needs are. We make an impact in the region. Our graduates remain in the city in which they graduated. Unlike other institutions that students may come in to the city, they attain a degree, and then they move to maybe their home state. Our graduates remain in the city, so we've always had an impact. But I think, again, as I said, what President Obama did was to shine a light on community colleges, and now the world knows more about what we do.
Oh, wow.
I mean, was the situation before where community colleges just weren't promoting themselves?
That's and you'll see that. First of all, if you look at the proprietary schools, they have a budget out of this world, and so they can afford to have commercials on television all of the time, or radio spots or whatever, and we typically don't have that type of a budget. And so we've just gone about our work and doing what we do, and we have really kind of suffered in silence with some of the images that have been portrayed about community colleges in the media. You see some of the jokes, and I just am a community college student, as though that's a bad thing. But I think as we have gotten more attention, people see our worth and our value, and we say it's about time.
Wow.
Bringing it back to you and your experiences, you said at the institution you were at before, you weren't able to do some of the things that you really wanted to do here. Right. So can you run through some of the things that you're really excited about that you've been able to do here in Memphis so far? Yes,
so in the past, what we've focused on would be looking at small types of steps that we can take to improve enrollment or improve student retention. And so we'll look at a program or we'll look at a department and say, let's fix that department. But I've said for years that it's a system, and we have to look at it as such. We have to fix the whole system. So you can't fix a piece of it because it's all tied together. And so in this role, I am able to do that and to say, no, we're not going to just look at one department or say that it's just one problem in one area. It's the whole college. And so we are redesigning, reinventing, resetting all of Southwest because it needs to. You can't fix one piece of it. So I'm able to do that, and that's exciting.
How many students are enrolled at Southwest?
We have this fall, our student numbers were about 8,400.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So you're the largest community college in the state of Tennessee, you know that?
Well, we are the largest, I think, in terms of, our footprint throughout. Our enrollment is not the largest.
Oh, wow.
It's not the largest it had been. Right. But we have seen a decline in our enrollment over the past, since I think 2011. Mm-hmm. We had a high of about 12,000 students. And so each year we have decline in our enrollment. Our retention rate is one of the lowest in the state, and our graduation rate is the lowest in the state.
Well, what do you attribute that to?
Well, a lot of factors. One of the things with community colleges, we are counter-cyclical to the economy. So as the economy improves, our enrollment decreases and declines because people go to work. Yeah. So that's one reason. But other reasons include some of the internal barriers that I think that we have placed in students' way. So the enrollment process, the admissions process, students have complained for years that it's just hard to get into Southwest. Or once they have begun the admissions process, it's difficult to complete it. They are not informed of if forms are due, or sometimes customer service has been a problem. People just treat it in a way that they don't appreciate. And so it's a lot of internal practices. Some of our policies have prevented students from persisting. And so we have to take a look at everything from the admissions process all the way through to completion.
So I think that was a nice way of her saying, we gonna get the broom out there.
Yeah, gotta do a little cleaning.
Gotta get out the Ajax and clean it, because that sounds to me like something that's just a matter of
internal controls, like as she said,
customer service.
Yeah, that's a major internal control, right?
And when you have such a volatile situation already, because you've got people that are saying most of the people that go to four-year colleges make the commitment. They know they're going to be there for 4 years and they go.
Right.
You get someone going to school for 2 years, they've probably had some other issues and they're probably making up their minds, now I'm going to go to school. So it's a volatile situation. And if I can't even get, my acceptance letter back in time, any particular situation could make me change my mind, and all of a sudden you've lost that student. So it's very important at the entry stage that those things are almost seamless and not even things you think about, right?
Absolutely.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. I've got a question, Doc, that I hope you're able to probably inform our listeners on. I would assume that the community college choice of a lot of our residents and our citizens around the country, because of the initiative that the president started. Did the numbers go up then, or have they ebbed a little bit since that? I guess it was 11 or 10 that he started this piece about really trying to get
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So have the numbers kind of plateaued a little bit? Is that what happened?
No, you're speaking of President Obama's spotlight that he shined on community colleges. I'm not sure that necessarily had a across the board increase on enrollment. I think it depends on which region. It also has to do with the college. What programs you offer, how much you're marketing the programs, if you're meeting the needs of that region. So I think it's just on a case-by-case basis. I think with some of the urban community colleges, we have seen a decline for the reasons that I've spoken about before. The economy, also as he's been in office, the economy has seen some improvement. And so, again, that impacts us. So across the board, we've seen the enrollment declines. But again, the awareness about community colleges has improved, and the impact that we have, not just on the local economy, but the region. And so that's been a real plus.
So nationwide, the proprietary schools, I don't want to call out any names and give them any hype on this show, but we know who they are. I would imagine...
Not bad. You can talk about them.
Well, the Strayers and the Phoenixes and so forth. Sure. I mean, those have probably led to, I'm assuming, a major decline. I think you kind of alluded to that a little bit, a major decline in enrollment at some of these community colleges around the country because, as you said, they've got the marketing dollars and they have used them well.
Right. And, I will say that I think it's the marketing of their programs, but I think also, because I don't see anything as totally bad, I think we can learn from some of the things that they are doing. So they are very responsive to the needs of the students.
Wow.
So the admissions processes that I've just spoken about that we've made so hard, it's not the case in most of the proprietary institutions. They are very student-focused. Students have a seamless process of getting in, and their hands are held as much or as little as they need, and so that customer service is there, and so students vote with their feet, and so they've chosen to go to those institutions because of that. Now, I would argue that we may turn out a better product at a lower cost, but if you factor in what students need in terms of the convenience and the ability to not have all the barriers in place, many have decided that the proprietary institutions are for them.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, president of Southwest Tennessee Community College.
Hey! Got to pay back!
This is the story of a great people, of hopes and dreams, of challenge and change. It's an American story. The story and struggle that started many centuries ago lives today in the halls and on the walls of the renovated National Civil Rights Museum. Enter the Supreme Court Halls of Justice, sit with Rosa Parks on the Montgomery bus, hear Mahalia Jackson sing at the March on Washington. Plan now to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. For more information, log on to civilrightsmuseum.org.
In Memphis, there are 116,000 very important young minds. 20,000 of them attend schools in the bottom 5%.
The Memphis Education Fund partners with committed organizations to give these students access to an equitable education.
Their partners work to operate quality schools, recruit, retain, and develop effective teachers and leaders, ensure community voice, and support the needs of the whole child in Shelby County's priority schools.
R&R on Sports with iConversation.
The Executive Director of the NBA Players Association, Ms. Michelle Roberts.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
He is currently Managing Director and Chairman of USA Basketball, Mr. Jerry Colangelo, with us here on R&R on Sports.
Thank you guys. Nice to be with you.
The one, the only, Detlef Shrimp.
Hey, Howard and Larry, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Ken Griffey Jr., how are you today, sir?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Catch iConversation on R&R on Sports, part of the Kazuki Network.
This is Terry Freeman, president of the National Civil Rights Museum, originally from the Go-Go capital, D.C. You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network.
You are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazuki Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Southwest Tennessee Community College is your best choice, Dr. Ward. You hear me?
Yep.
You know what? They are also one of the sponsors of the Education Reform Series here on Funky Politics, and we are more than glad to have you all a part of our Funky Politics family, Dr. Hall.
Well,
Very
thank
much
you.
so.
We're
Okay?
glad to be a part of the family.
Yes, and the family speaks. Oh, I'm sorry.
Were you trying to high five me or something?
No, I was going to raise my hand to you. But anyway, and as a part, like I was saying before, the education reform piece that we've all talked about. Oh gosh, man, we've talked about this and talked about it. K through 12 is going to be great, but the rest of the nation can't be great unless we take something with those young people that we put into them from K through 12, and we can produce something that maybe they can go to a community college or to a 4-year institution, and then greatness happens all of a sudden.
Right.
But what happens when it doesn't? what happens when you do have a student who, and we've talked about this before, some folks want everybody to go to a 4-year institution, but now some are just going to have to do some other things, and they may not be ready. So does the community college system, I hate to say it's ready for that person, because that's not necessarily so. Oh, is it, Doc?
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
And so when we were formed, I think early 1900s, we were formed as a junior college, and we are a offshoot of the K through 12 environment. And so that's where the junior college came in. And so many of our instructors years ago, professors years ago, had been former K through 12 teachers. And so we've kind of moved away. You may see a few junior colleges throughout the country, but we moved from junior college because of that whole stigma of we're not real college, or we're just the 13th grade. We're not that, but that junior college kind of gives you that image, to community college, which we are about the community and invested in the community and really making a difference in the lives of people in a particular community or a particular region. And so...
Well, don't blame us. Blame Chris Rock.
Did he make jokes about it?
Yeah, he's the one that said community college was like a disco with books.
Yeah, see, people like Chris Rock. Yeah,
come on now.
How you know you want to laugh?
Whatever. Caroline had a real serious question.
You want to laugh, but no. We do understand it's a stigma thing.
Yeah,
and in a time where people want to identify with brands, it does some things, thought processes like that. Compromise the brand.
Right, because people don't understand and they don't know the quality of our faculty, and that we have faculty with PhDs and that we have faculty who have published and are quite capable of teaching at the 4-year level if they so chose to. But the community college focuses on teaching. As opposed to 4-year university, it's about research and publishing. We focus on teaching, and so what we do is teach, and we're good at it. And so people don't always know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I wonder, just walking around in the hallways of the schools here, you see so many college banners. You see Mizzou next to the Princeton and Harvards, because as a Mizzou grad, you understand where it is in the hierarchy.
I understand.
But I'm just, I'm just saying.
It's a
M-I-Z-Z-O-U, right?
There you
She's
go.
trying to get up her funk.
A little bit.
She's got to rise out of this.
Bringing up that funky college.
So I'm curious, because I feel like that messaging starts so young, right? And not everyone is meant to go to a 4-year institution. And we've talked about how you kind of hang your hat on this idea of career readiness.
Right.
So what's the messaging there? What can change to make kindergartners aware that becoming an electrician is just as noble as going to a 4-year institution?
That's right.
Well, I think that we have to have people understand that going to and following a career path is college. And that's what I've run into a lot here, is that people tend to say, well, not everybody's ready for college or should go to college. They could go and get a trade. Well, where are you going to get the trade? At college.
That's right.
And so there are different paths. And so it can be a career path in which your goal is to, at the conclusion of your credential, is to go right to work. Or you may choose that after you complete your associate's degree, you're going to transfer to a 4-year institution, because that career path in which you desire to walk on requires a bachelor's degree. Not every job requires a bachelor's degree.
Right.
But almost any career path now requires some post-secondary credential. And so it just depends on your choice.
Wow.
And
Can
so
you say that again?
I think helping people to understand that.
Can you go back to that? Because I think that's an important point. Not every job requires a bachelor's degree.
Absolutely. It does not. And so it just depends. So if your career path in which you're choosing requires an associate's degree or may require a short-term certificate, then you attend college for that certificate. A community college, we have both, we have the short-term certificates. We have the Associate of Applied Science, which that it will allow you to go right into work. But then we also have the career, the college track or the transfer path, because the job in which you want, you have to have a bachelor's degree, or you may have to have a master's or a PhD. It just depends. And so it's just, but regardless, it's still college. It's still receiving a post-secondary credential.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukia Network. We've got Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College, Southwest is your best choice.
Yep. But just to marry that up with, I think one of the other problems is that people we're so used to trying to make things one thing or the other. And we're not looking at this as a part of a comprehensive educational opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because whether people want to believe it or not, or whatever you say about community colleges or whatever, however they're classified, there's a tremendous middle skills gap in this country.
Absolutely.
There are a number of jobs available where there are people that are not trained to go into them.
Right.
And as you said, where are you going to get that from?
Right.
Where are you going to get the training from? So, with that being said, is the role of community college becoming more, I know that you said the numbers are going down, but are you all embracing and identifying the role more? I know it was your role from the beginning, but are you all embracing that more as sort of the solution to ending the middle skills gap now? Or is that something that you're looking to do now?
In terms of promoting that career path?
Right. Well, and promoting your institution as a place where people go to get
absolutely. And I think, again, it just comes with educating people on what it is that we do. We have to address the stigma of community colleges and show our value. I think we've known it and we've kind of commiserated with each other that, oh, wow, people think of us as, second-class citizens or whatever. Yeah. But I think we have to shake off that inferiority complex and say, this is what we do, and we do it really well. And this is our value to the community. I think if we looked at the number of graduates that come from community colleges and they reside in the Memphis area, we'll see how much we have poured into this local economy already. You look at most of our, this is nationally, first responders, police officers, EMT, nurses, the technology folks that work in allied health fields, they have started at a community college. So we really have nothing to hang our heads about. We've allowed ourselves to be seen as second class, but we're not second class by any means, and we can prove that to people by what we have already produced. So it's not so much will we start to see our role as filling the middle skills gap. I think it's telling what we've already done and what we do to fill that middle skills gap.
Well, getting people to understand it, because I think that's the issue. People really don't understand
it. They don't understand it. They don't understand it. And I think we have to get beyond, I think, working closely with the high schools and the guidance counselors to help help them to tell our story about what it is that we do. I think Tennessee Promise has been wonderful because people that have not given us a thought in the past, they're rethinking. Right. When you're looking at the last dollar scholarship and you're thinking, okay, so I can get a good quality education and I get my student or my child can move on to a 4-year institution and the debt can be lower, and it's still because community college students, when they do transfer to a 4-year institution, they are as prepared or more prepared than students that have started initially.
When you talk about debt, and on a national perspective, Dr. Hall, I look at this thing, they're talking about school choice on K through 12 and how school vouchers or portability, the money following the student. At some point, can we get to in this country where the average taxpayer who attends a state institution in their state, that same portability can follow? I mean, why aren't we there yet? And I'm assuming I'm not talking about Pell Grant, because Pell Grants are, typically they may fill the entire bill, but they may not. But if we can afford to pay for K through 12 education, can we not afford to pay for free college education, as I think as Bernie Sanders and I think Hillary Clinton jumped on board after a while with? Can we not do something like that with some federal dollars?
Well, I think we have an example here already in Tennessee.
With
Tennessee Promise.
Tennessee Promise.
And looking at, so if our students, for example, if they come to us and they have a expected family contribution of 0, well, most of our students receive 100% Pell Grant. But again, as I said, that population of students, that middle income family.
That's the issue right there.
And that's what people don't focus on. The middle income family. So I was a first generation student, and I could not receive financial aid because by the government standard, I made my mother made too much money. But in fact, we didn't make enough money.
That's right.
And so I couldn't get a Pell Grant, and so we struggled. To pay tuition, and I can remember being withdrawn from classes because that bill is due, and if you don't have the bill, you're withdrawn. So I know that experience. And so if we had a Tennessee Promise or something where there was a last dollar scholarship, the money that I didn't get from Pell Grant, that could have assisted me. And so we don't focus on that middle income family that's struggling to send their child to school. And so community colleges, as we talk about, is your best choice. And we think not only Southwest, but community colleges all around, because you can have an affordable education at a lower cost, and families can afford that.
You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukian Network. We're visiting this evening with Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College.
Yep. But in addition to being able to get a quality education for, I guess, not the same amount of money that you have to pay for 4-year college, you're also resolving an issue of getting people job ready.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And getting them into those jobs that are going vacant because there are not people with skills to fill them.
Right. And so one of the initiatives we're working on with the whole redesign of Southwest is looking at pathways. Nationally, we're talking about pathways, and locally now we're talking about pathways. And so that's for whatever entry point you have. And so if you're coming in and you want to be an accountant, but you can't, and that requires a bachelor's degree, but right now you just need a job. And so we're looking at the whole stackable credentials. And so you may come in and have a short-term certificate, and that gets you a credential enough to get just a job, right? And so then once you make some money, you come back, and then you go and you may get an associate of applied science, and you go and you work. And then you come back on that path, and then you go to your bachelor's degree. That's where we're headed, so that students can have an on and off ramp, because no longer is it okay just to say this is your only choice.
Right.
When people are saying, well, I need a job right now, and I need a credential, and 2 years is too long, or 4 years is too long. Well, so let's set it up so that you can have some stackable credentials, get enough skills to work an entry-level job, and then come back when it's when you're able to. And sometimes jobs pay.
Or get enough skills to where you can work the job in the field that you are aspiring to go into.
Absolutely.
If you wanted to go be an accountant, perhaps you could start out in another field where accounting is an essential part of it.
Absolutely.
And then while you're going to school, you're earning money, so you don't have to go into debt and pay it for school. Because I'm not so sure that 4-year college is necessary now for a lot of things we're doing either.
It's not.
I think it's time for us to sort of rip the floorboards up on all of these things. So we're not talking about community college versus 4-year college. We're just talking about college, educational attainment.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where we need to be, right?
And maybe just experience, like you say, that stackable. Look, I go in as an accounting clerk, and I'm doing. We all know the accounting clerk does the.
How much better would the legal profession be if lawyers were paralegals before they were lawyers?
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying?
Wow.
If they understood the essentials of research and everything else before they jumped in. If you just look at what's happening right now with the number of lawyers being disciplined and malpractice cases and rates going up, I can tell you that. It's all about the way we approach the whole issue of education and job readiness.
That's right.
And I think you guys are at the forefront of it.
Thank you.
But now, are you all involved with, does your student body look, or at least not your student body, does your curriculum look like sort of what the occupational set is in your area?
Well,
the things that you're teaching that look like the jobs that are out here in this area?
Yeah, well, I'll say in some cases. And so that's one of the other areas when we're looking at redesigning. We're looking at, are we teaching what's needed? Right. Because what we don't want to do is to teach only what we think is needed. And so we have, with our career program, advisory committees. And these advisory committees are made up of people from the industry, serving on those committees and informing us of what needs to be taught, the equipment that needs to be taught. And in some cases, we see that we are out of date in some of the things that we're teaching, maybe in our equipment and in our approach. And so we need to update and make sure that we're staying on top of what we need to do.
And so kind of wrapping up, it's one thing, and you've spoken to this as well, but it's one thing to have the proper credentials, to have the degree you need for the career you want. It's another thing to go into the city and say, I don't know anyone who's doing what I want to do. How do I get a leg up or an in? So can you speak a little bit to the community connections y'all have to set people up with jobs when they're career ready?
Well, I think the part of our programs, many of them provide internships for students. And so that's really important, that firsthand experience. And you can see that this is really what it takes to be successful. I think also, I'll back up, before they even get their credential, these pre-collegiate experiences are really critical. Mm-hmm. So what we're working on is developing pre-academies, like pre-allied health or pre-IT. And so the younger students they see what a career field in that particular industry is like, have an opportunity to meet with people in that field and find out, this is maybe what I want to do, or no, this is not what I want to do. Too often we have students saying they want to be a nurse and they don't like the sight of blood.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I want that nurse.
Yeah, you don't want that nurse. And so we say, well, maybe this is not the field for you, but then there are other fields maybe that are in the health profession, that are in the helping profession, that will not require that you come into contact with blood because you don't like it. But again, it's the exposure. And so if students aren't exposed to certain fields, they don't know. And so they may have grown up thinking, this is what I've always wanted to be. And then they find out, I don't want to be this. Mm-hmm. And so it's just the exposure to that. But then once they're in the program, the internships.
Mm-hmm. You're listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukian Network. We have in our studio this evening Dr. Tracy Hall, the president of Southwest Tennessee Community College. Southwest is your best choice.
This is the story of a great people, of hopes and dreams, of challenge and change. It's an American story. The story and struggle that started many centuries ago lives today in the halls and on the walls of the renovated National Civil Rights Museum. Enter the Supreme Court Halls of Justice, sit with Rosa Parks on the Montgomery bus, hear Mahalia Jackson sing at the March on Washington. Plan now to visit the National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. For more information, log on to civilrightsmuseum.org.
In Memphis, there are 116,000 very important young minds. 20,000 of them attend schools in the bottom 5%.
The Memphis Education Fund partners with committed organizations to give these students access to an equitable education.
Their partners work to operate quality schools, recruit, retain, and develop effective teachers and leaders, ensure community voice, and support the needs of the whole child in Shelby County's priority schools.
Blues in the Basement, live interviews from some of the biggest blues artists in the country.
Bobby Rush.
Wonderful. May God bless you all. All right.
People keep asking me to sing about a good man.
Blues in the Basement. Stay up to date with the biggest blues festivals in the world. Blues in the Basement. Now podcasting and available on iTunes. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and IG. And download the Blues in the Basement app.
I mean, this music just makes for a good time. All I need is a beer and some babakoo.
And some babakoo.
Blues in the Basement. In the Basement. In the Basement. In the Basement.
I am Willie W. Harrington. I am very passionate about educational empowerment and economic empowerment for African American people. And you are listening to Funky Politics, powered by the Kazukian Network.
Funky Politics Education Reform Series is presented by the National Civil Rights Museum, sponsored by Memphis Education Fund and Southwest Tennessee Community College. We'd like to thank our media partner, Chalkbeat Tennessee.
This is Terry Freeman.
Jim Strickland.
Dorsey Hobson. I'm DeAndre Brown.
Elisa Househalter.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics Show.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Funky Politics.
Y'all better keep listening.
Funky Politics, part of the Kazukian Network.
How we